You are now listening to Out of the Blank.
Welcome to another episode of Out of the Blank podcast. I'm here with Dimitar. So Dimitar, tell me a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, okay. I'm from Bulgaria. I'm 35 years old. I currently I'm developing, so I'm trying to program some stuffs, and I had a podcast actually. It's called Music is Power Podcast, and it was like 7 years ago or something like that. It's about indie music and it was like 5 years or 6 years it run but I didn't have time to maintain it. So and I also actually go to a theater school for 3 years or something like that. So I have a lot of interest and I do a lot of things.
So what did you say your job was that got you money like professionally throughout the day?
Professionally throughout the day, actually we have a family business, a printing house, and also a book publishing company, which is something like self-publishing, like Amazon or something like that. And it's actually one of the first. I think it's the first in Bulgaria to do this.
So
Right now.
what types of things do you guys publish? I mean, that's an old school art too, the art of publishing. I think a lot of people, like, books now got transferred over to tablets and things. Not really too many people buy the actual copy of a book anymore.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We actually started 2011 or something like that. We created the website, and we didn't actually know what to expect. I'd actually made a website because we bought a digital machine, because the technology gets better and better every year, and there are actually printing machines right now that can actually print you the book right away. So it's one copy or two copies or whatever. And I just think to myself, let me just try that and see what will happen. And so far, for I don't know, like 10 years ago, we have like 512 published books officially on our website, and around more than 200 authors from Bulgaria decided to trust us. So I think it's getting pretty well for a small country like Bulgaria.
Does the fact that nowadays with technology, it's progressing in such a way that you're going to see old type of publishing places close down? I mean, throughout our history, at least American history, around the times of the Industrial Revolution, there was a group known as the Luddites, and the Luddites were these farmers, average industrial workers that were getting put out of work because of the printing press, all these types of machines that were becoming, and they were basically doing their job for them, making them not have any money, be able to sustain their family. So they would break into these factories that they worked at and they would destroy these machines. Do you think that's going to happen with the way technology is progressing? I mean, nobody really takes the time to even read a newspaper anymore if you're not from an older generation.
Yeah, that's true. Well, eventually I think it will happen, because of course there is negatives and pros and cons for this new technology. The most con for this technology is that it is expensive. So it's pretty much double the price when you pay for a single copy of book than when you buy it from the old-fashioned printing industry, publishing industry. Sorry. But the cons are the pros are very, very good, because the copy of the book is always available. So as long as you have the file in your computer, you can always print it. So the copy never run out of stock, which is perfect for customers, and also for the author. And also we use the new technology to also make a digital contract with the author. So this is a plus as well, I think. And also when you order the book, because the books are only online, we only publish them online, so we don't have we don't work actually with the bookshops in Bulgaria, because they want a lot of money, like a percent, like 50 or 60% of the final price of the book, which is a lot. And we have like a business model that every author name a price for the book, and for example, like $5 or $6 or whatever, and they can change this price wherever they want. Like they can change it like every minute, every hour, or whatever, and they can just see if the book is selling or not. And I don't know, there are a lot of good things out of this industry and out of this method to publish a new book. So as
What's
long as
crazy?
you
Well, what's crazy is
yeah,
the fact that like when you read a book, there's something different than when you're just reading off your phone. I think a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people like miss out on what it feels like to actually flip a page, here and that, whoosh, like the flip of the page, or that's the texture of a nice page. You can fight it from both sides, I guess. Kind of the argument would be, well, we're not wasting paper anymore, but it's like we literally have the information at our fingertips on a constant basis. I think it's a little bit of too much power where a lot of things are going to be put out. Like the art of journalism, it's a dying kind of job, only on the concept of not a lot of people need to look at articles in a newspaper or in a kind of like anything that would manufacture that. Only on the concept of now journalism has devolved into the modern day blogger. I mean, anybody that owns a cell phone and has an opinion can literally put their information up on the internet, whether it's true or not, and not face any ramifications.
yeah, that's true. That's true. And also, we didn't mention the audiobook, which is also very popular recent years. So I don't know. People can just do whatever they prefer right now. I mean, if you prefer the paper book, yeah, you can do this. But you can also make the ebook, so you can also read with Kindle or whatever reader you have. So and then you can also do the audiobook. I actually recently discovered the audiobooks, and I'm pretty happy about them, to be honest, because I can listen to on the car or on the way, or it's great for me. Actually, it's working wonderful
Yeah,
for me.
audiobooks are good because I have a couple friends that are kind of hard of hearing and they use audiobooks mostly because they just never took the time to kind of read. They didn't felt like they were kind of a little bit like there's people out there that can read a book like a giant Harry Potter sized book, like 600 pages in a matter of an hour. And then there's people that would take them months to get finished, only on the concept of them trying to understand the words is very, very difficult, which is understandable. Audiobooks is amazing. I mean, I'd rather read a book only on the concept of when you look at articles on your phone, when you read a book on your phone, I find it very, very hard for my brain to create this escape or this alternate reality that a book is kind of doing. When someone writes a book, they're trying to create the words and create this type of thing that sparks imagery inside of your head. So you literally feel like you've escaped to a place.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, whatever it's best for the individual person, actually, because yeah, for some people it's better. That's true for me, actually. I don't have the time, or I don't know, the energy or whatever, to just sit and read the book, and it's working perfect for me to just listen to it with the audiobook. And it's I know it's different because when you read it, actually, probably, I think for me, when you read on the actual book with the papers, it's you can imagine more. I think because you can flow away more easily when you're on the audiobook. That's true as well for me, at least. But yeah, there's
What's
so many ways to read or to listen books right now. So it's of course, I think the industry will change, and actually, it's, I think, already changed.
what's one book if that you've ever read that's really impacted your mind or your creativity in a way to where you read it and you could literally see it like a movie inside of your head, like one that you would still like if you had a chance to would still read today?
Yeah, but the truth is that I didn't read like a lot of books, to be honest. But I think the all the books that I read was impact my life a lot. And the maybe the most wonderful and the book that actually made me cry at the end when I finished reading was a book about Bulgarian apostle of freedom. He was fighting for freedom for Bulgaria, so it's a Bulgarian local book there.
I read a book in school. I was a really good reader, but I found like I have really bad ADHD, so it's very hard for me to sit in one place and just read something else that really captures my attention. And
Right.
I read this book coming from I think it was called Cruise Control, but it was about a kid around his 20s, around my age. Um, and he had a brother that was mentally challenged, and he was talking about how he hated his brother and hated all these things, how he couldn't connect with his brother, and like all kids did was make fun of him, made him look bad, and all this selfish things. But he was like, but if anybody messed with my brother, I would kick their ass. And you saw this kid going off to college, like basketball scholarship, and he had his whole life set, but he felt like he couldn't go because his brother was holding him back, and he hated his brother for that. And throughout the book, you're seeing his emotional, like everything, his mentality, his just spirit in general just change. And then I read the opposite of that book, which came from the brother's perspective, called Inside Out. And it was the brother, the mentally challenged brother, and he was really, really smart on the inside of his head, but he couldn't express his words. Whenever you're reading it, and the dude's talking like he's a Neil deGrasse Tyson, like these long, 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 like beautiful sentences. And then when he went to go try and make it into speech, his brain would just go, and just start yawning or doing some type of drooling. And he made fun of himself in the book, and I'm hearing it and I'm like, it totally changed my perspective on mental disabilities. Like, it hit me in a way where I was like, wow. Like, it's like when you see a movie about a dog and the dog's talking and the dog's saying like all this stuff, and you're like, I wonder if my dog can talk. And you start kind of watching your dog in the distance. And it was a completely like just alternate like perspective on things. It made me look at that whole people with mental disabilities in a whole new light. I think a lot what people miss out when it's when it comes to a book is it's meant to change your perspective. It's meant to make you feel emotion. And this is what I wanted to kind of talk to you about, because you do a music podcast. I mean, the best part about music is it is literally an escape. It's a way for you to feel emotion through some type of creative form. I don't know what your perspective is. I mean, we're from two different countries, but what is your idea on the concept of music?
Yeah, to be honest, I'm a very, so to say, music enthusiast. So I listen to a lot of music, and I read a lot of music. And for me, music is everything in my life. So it helped me with a lot of difficult situation. Also to just everyday life, to just listen to. I listen to a lot of music, and to be honest, when I was young, one of my dreams was to have a band, and but that didn't happen. Later in my life, I just decided myself, well, what I can do, because I have so many friends which they don't know these bands. So my podcast is mainly uh, for indie music, for independent music, which is not that commercially, and in most cases, you cannot listen to those songs on the radio.
Oh yeah,
And
because a lot of the music, at least independent music, like I come from a music background family. Everybody in my family is still in a band, has multiple bands, has been doing music their whole life, whether it's my dad on drums, my mom on guitar and singing, my brother guitar and singing. I didn't follow in that path, mostly because I found it very difficult. I had the fascination, much like most kids do, like yourself, with music. I wanted to be in a
yeah,
popular band. I think it mostly came with the fame aspect. I wanted millions of people to be singing along to something I wrote, and something, kind of the glory aspect of it. But, you know, I have some songs, like I'll even share, my own experience with, I've had bad days before, man. Like I've had days where I'm like, the world sucks, the world's a crappy place, and I put on a good song and like a nice reggae song or something, and it calms me down to the point where I roll down the windows and I'm just singing and not caring and just so happy, and it's basically an escape from reality, man.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. But the strangest thing for me is that there are some people actually which music is not music. It's something like for them something like I don't know, like it's I don't know. It's not meaningless, but it's something like it doesn't really. It's not that influential for their life. So
It's for
they can.
everyone. You can sit there and listen to it, but it's not going to shove it down your throat like you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. We live in a world where everything feels like you need to be doing something, like you need to have this going for you. If you don't have this going for you, you're a loser. And I'm like, there's songs out there that talk about what, like they make it relatable or they make it a fantasy. I really love songs that make it relatable, that make it to the point where you listen to it like, yeah, I have my rough days, no money in my wallet and all this types of stuff. I'm like, I know what that's like. Okay. I'm in that right now. You're singing like you're coming from my perspective. But you look at songs nowadays, like Bo Burnham has a good joke on it. I don't know if you know who Bo Burnham is, but he highlights that the one thing about music nowadays is that they make it so like vague, like descriptions, like when they're talking about a girl, like, I love that you have an arm on either side. Like, okay, like that's gonna basically nail down most of the girls in the world. They both have two arms, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
they make it so vague, like, I love your bluish, brownish, greenish eye color. It's like, what are you saying right now? Like, any girl listening to that's gonna be like, he's talking about me. And I'm like, it highlights the weirdest aspect that we're in a studiotized world nowadays where the companies just run everything. Any music out there is so studioized. I still think it's awesome that it's creative music, but you're seeing less creativity with a rapper that just goes, yeah. And then next thing you know, it's 10 minutes of beats that have all been monetized by different companies and stuff. I'm like, where's the original soul?
Yeah, that's true. But also, what I want to mention, a very important thing is that when I started to do my podcast at the beginning, at like first 10 shows or something like that, because I have a concept, I wanted my podcast to be a little bit different than any other podcast. And so I made a rule myself that I will play once I played an artist on my show, I cannot play it again on another episode. So that pushed me to just search for new bands or an artist every time I make a new show, which is it was every week on Friday, so it was a weekly show. And at the beginning, I was afraid because I was talking to I was just thinking to myself that I will run out of bands. So it was like a fear of me because after 10 show or 12, you kept like for initial 10 or 20 shows. And after that, what you will do. But the thing is that as more I progress doing this show, and the end when I finished the show, I finished like 150 episode, and I played like more than 1,800 artists, different artists, and I had like more than 15 episodes prepared just to publish them. So I had like super. I have a lot of bands and artists to just present on my show. So the thing is that there is a lot of bands and a lot of artists that they really sound, for me, they really sound good, and they deserve for more people to know about them. Because as I wanted to say, I have friends that they don't know a lot of indie bands, and every time I play like indie bands to my friends or my family, and I also say this song is great. I don't know this song, but this song is great. I really like it. And actually, this is one of the reasons I wanted to start this show. But yeah, there are a lot of what I wanted to say at the end of the day is that there's a lot of bands and artists, and you just have to have to search for them. But I wanted to just make this easier for the listener.
Have
So
you ever listened to, do you choose to stick to just one type of like style of song? Like I remember when I was a kid, the main thing I always listened to things that I liked. So like, from rock or all these types of things. And I learned I was living a kind of a closed-minded view on music. My parents were all in broadcasting and were DJs. So I went from Kiss to Metallica to AC/DC to reggae to rap to everything under the sun, country, Johnny Cash, whatever you want to say. And I found beauty in music everywhere. It doesn't matter if it's a song I like or if it's, I obviously have my favorites and everything of that sort, but there were something about it, the creative style, that I was like, I get it, because you saw emotion in it. It's not about if the music is catchy. It's not about what's trendy. Like nowadays, they use the simple beats just to produce a type of like reaction in your brain stimuli, just so you'd be like, oh my god, like I love this song. It's like, no, you love the way they mash the beat up together because it's just like every other popular song out there. There's no creative influence anymore. Like from coming from a band's perspective, I've been in a band, I've had these types of things. There's moments where you're like, we're gonna sit down, we're gonna play in this garage and nobody's leaving until a song gets made. You know what I mean? It was that
yeah,
connection you had with your buddies where you would be sitting there trying to think of a song. Next thing you know, you'd take a break, place a little bit of ping pong, but nobody was leaving the garage. Nobody had work. Nobody was doing any of these types of things. You sat there and you made sure something got produced. Then you created something, whether it was good or not, it didn't matter. You had the drive to conceive it. You had, people who truly enjoy music, who truly enjoy anything creative, whether it's art, whether it's writing, whether it's just playing a song. You have to understand the emotion and the inspiration that was put behind it.
yeah, that's true. And I don't know if you know the Vox channel from YouTube, but recently they have a lot of very good analyzing the songs, and because the music industry in general is changing a lot and have already changed a lot. And I saw there in their channel that more and more pop songs are starting to be like shorter, like less than 3 minutes, because people tend to not listen so much songs that are more than 3 minutes. And also about the albums, the artists just start to produce to just publish EPs instead of full albums, because they start to publish more and more often. And it is not like before, like the 90s or wherever the year the decade was, because at that time, for example, in the 90s, bands they had like an album, and after 2 years or 3 years or something like that, they'll release another album. But right now, it's actually because of the industry change, and because, for example, Spotify, because I'm using Spotify, but there is other, Apple or Google. But in Spotify, they have playlist release radar, which is your favorite songs and bands. Every Friday, if they have released something, you will have it in this playlist and you can check it out. So bands and artists starting to just produce more and more music in order to have more profit. And this is really changing the industry. And yeah, it's yeah.
Well, what's so scary is the fact that money is such a big aspect to get anywhere in the world. We hold paper, not the good type of paper like in a book. We hold money, this thing, this object, so damn accountable into our lives where we need it. We need it. Like if we don't have it, you have nothing. You literally can't do anything. And when an artist gets that in their head, I've talked to bands, I've been in a band. The one thing you have to realize is for music to truly be good, it does not matter about your talent. It matters about the connectivity, the amount you can connect with your band. You're a bunch of chefs on stage. You're creating a masterpiece. You're creating a dish that you're feeding to the audience. I've seen some bands that do not have any type of good music, but I didn't think of it that way. I looked at them and I saw how they were vibing with the crowd. They were getting the audience to stand up and get out of this comfort zone. You don't want to be in a freak, like I've been to techno concerts before. It's not my jive 100%, to be honest with you. I'm sitting there and everybody's kind of like ramming their head all the way in circles and just spinning around and doing this thing. And I'm like, what's going on right now? I feel like I've taken some drug trip. Everybody's like zombies punching each other and just freaking out and flailing all over the place. But
Yeah.
then I've seen, my favorite concerts. I've seen country concerts. I've seen rock concerts. I've seen it all. And the vibe with just the singer or whoever, everybody in the band just connecting and like to the point where like if time goes by, I mean, nowadays it feels like you're sitting at home just watching Netflix and it's like been a couple hours. You're like, where did my life go? You know what I mean? Nobody ever
Yeah.
takes this, like whenever I feel down and I'm having a rough morning or something, I'll play a song and my day will get immediately better. I mean, there's so many kids out there that don't even realize when they go into the shower and they're playing music on their phone. You know what I mean? You're totally missing that aspect of it. It's became this thing that got lost in translation. Like nowadays, music doesn't mean as much. It's very hard for a person like me, a person like you, to listen to a rap song and the guy's talking about like got 600 Benzes, got 600 white Ferraris. I'm like, I don't own 600 white fucking Ferraris. Thank you for making me feel even worthless. You know what I mean? It
Yeah.
was,
Yeah.
it's stuff when you hear about like, on a cloudy day, and then like talking about the emotions he felt on that day. It's modern day poetry. It's turned into a new form.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's true. That's true. And also about that, I wanted to say that there is actually very good app which is Genius. Is the name of the app is Genius, and you can actually read the lyrics of every song. But the good thing about this app and the different thing about this app is actually it's actually transcribing what is behind the lyrics of the song. So it's actually telling you what the artist meant when he was writing this song, which is very good if you want to really understand what was the artist's mind when he was writing the lyrics, and what is he or she meant when writing and singing this song, which is very very good actually. And yeah, and also about the festivals, I just wanted to say that right now, because as I said, the industry's changed. The festivals actually are changed as well. Because right now, the biggest festivals in the world, like Lollapalooza or something like that, because I'm telling Lollapalooza because I know that there is all around the world. This festival is all around the world, and they make it like they have to make it like a whole a small city, like because a lot of people go there and they need a lot of facilities there, and it's like yeah, it's really changed. It's not like before, because people expect when they go to the festival, when they go to a festival, they expect to just have everything like water or drinks and toilets and eating, and they expect not to wait, but there are a lot of people, so everything changed actually from before. If you went to a festival 20 years from now and the festival today, they really changed. And
Yeah, like
yeah,
nowadays, like they're all about selling merch. I'm like, bro, your song wasn't.
yeah,
You just went up there, hit a button, and walked down stage and started selling merch for the rest of your show. Like there was nothing you really had to do. What got me to spend $30 on a T-shirt, which I think is amazingly overpriced, but I still bought it anyway, was the fact that after watching a concert and vibing with the singer, just feeling like just in tune with everything, like on one frequency. He would come down stage and they would sell merch and they would be there at the table selling their own merch. They would be signing it. They'd be taking pictures with people. I'm like, this is what it is. This is why you started it. If you didn't start it overwriting, the inspiration for music. The one thing you have to get in check, I think, for a band to last is the fact that everybody needs to be on the same goal line. Like, what are you in this band for? Well, I'm in it for the music. Okay, what are you in this band for? I'm in it for the chicks. What are you in the band for? Well, I'm in it for the money. Okay, we're all doing this for a completely different reason. So this is not going to work out unless we can get all on the same mindset here. There are so many bands that make it to popularity, start getting a little bit of money, start getting a little bit of fame, start getting a little bit of drugs. Next thing you know, they break up on the concept of there's conflict in the group. If you walk on stage and you have conflict in your band, it's going to show. The audience is going to feel that, like, wow, that singer looks like he does not like the guitar player, maybe because he probably took a shit in one of their toilets or something. And it's like, you start creating this thing and you lose the aspect of the music. And I'm like, with festivals nowadays, you don't, they give them a little bit of time, but they try their hardest to make sure that in that little bit of time, they give you everything, all they got, you know what I mean? Because they want to get their stuff out there. They want to be heard. The true artists are the ones that go, I don't care about how popular we get. I just want people to listen to this music and feel what I feel when I sing it. And I'm like, that really moves me to look at music, because it's an art that seems to be changing in the weirdest way possible, especially with where technology's going. I mean, downloads for artists nowadays, nobody buys an album anymore. Everybody's got Spotify or YouTube on their phone, or they illegally download it. You know what I mean? It's hard. You don't get to hear people you sell multi-million track. No, you don't get the golden record label for how many albums you sell anymore. Everything's based on, like, well, the song's trending, so that's what we have at the top list right now. I'm like, man, technology, what did you do?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And of course, everything changed right now, and the songs count actually. It's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. As I said, I never had a band or something like that, but I know that a lot of artists and bands complain about the Spotify and the streaming service because they don't get a lot of money from it. So the only way to actually make a lot of money, it's actually doing festivals and concerts, which in the end of the day, it's pretty rough, I think, for the band, because, for example, they have to make 1 year touring, which is, I don't know, it's pretty tough, probably, to do this, and for the probably rest of your life, I don't know, or at least 20 years or something like that. But in this case, I don't know what we as an end consumer, as a person who is actually using this service. I don't know what to do of that. I mean, what to make of it. Probably it's good if we all consumers say, yeah, we like this band, and we want to support it. Of course, there are apps and also websites, like, for example, Bandcamp, which is a website you can actually buy directly from the artist. They sell the songs and albums or whatever, and you can buy directly from them, which is a great platform, but it's not that popular.
Yeah, well,
But
this works the same way with actors. When they a lot of their movies get illegally downloaded and they get less buys in the box office ratings and all that. They choose the weirdest thing, and they go to these conventions where they sign autographs and they charge people money for the autographs. And there's
yeah,
that guy Norman Reedus and the dude from The Arrow. They were taking home like $200,000 worth in trash bags, and
yeah,
none of it was
yeah,
taxed. And it was like, that's really weird to charge a fan for an autograph. You know what I mean? I mean, I get it, but I remember
yeah,
having a CD and going to my favorite concert with this CD in my pocket the whole time, and then seeing the artist and just trying to run past him. Please sign this, sir. Please, please. Like, can you just do this for me? And he just walked by real quick, gave me a quick signature. I mean, dude, having that was like, thank you. Cause I felt like I wasn't paying any more than I had to pay. You know what I mean? I feel
Yeah.
like nowadays it's become a money world. It scares the shit out of me, man, because technology is a benefit. I love that we have YouTube, Spotify, all these things to get great content out there. But there's a point where if you love something and you really truly enjoy it, then buy it. Buy it. That's all you have to do. I'm not saying you have to spend even more money, but you know, it only helps the person out. It only helps them. I mean, it gets kicked back into them so they can keep producing content. There was a popular reggae band called the Dirty Heads. They're not
Mhm.
really reggae anymore. They started off with this punk style, kind of drifted into like this reggae vibe, and then they adapted to a new audience because of the way technology and kids were listening to. They kind of sold out a little bit. They started playing more techno beats, and then they lost a lot of fans. And they finally just got to the point they're at now where they brought both audiences together now. And I realized what they did. They had to jump into a whole new pool of music genre just to bring in the newer kids to get more content. And now they brought us both together as wholes, from the older generation and the younger generation. They combine the music and it works. And sometimes that's very risky. You know, a band can sell out and then just choose to stay a sellout. And it's hard because, you know, you got so many people competing over you, so many people doing this. You have the pressure from the fans. You have so much that goes into the concept of everything where you're listening to a music and it's like, man, they just replaced that singer. They didn't even care about the song. It sounds completely different and I don't like it.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, bands sometimes do this. Sometimes there are a lot of bands. But yeah, I can say that there are really a lot of bands, and sometimes so things happen like that. But talking about piracy and paid services like Spotify or Netflix, I can talk about that a little bit more because. As I'm living in Bulgaria, of course, we were like a communist country like 25 years ago, 30 years ago. And they were here at the beginning of democracy was a lot of piracy actually. And there was mainly two reasons about that. First was about that people didn't have a lot of money, and the second most reason is that there was actually not services to use. So even if you don't want to do it without piracy, there was not available services. But recently that changed. The last, I don't know, like 3 or 4 years or 5 years, that all changed because Spotify opened up for I think the whole world, and Netflix I think as well did that, and more and more services are opening themselves to the other countries except the states or major Western countries. So what I can see from myself, because I also at the beginning I did the piracy as well, but right now I have a paid Netflix, I have paid Spotify, so I'm do my best to to help the industry, and I think this is getting slightly better than it was in before. I think so. This is my
So
personal, at least in Bulgaria.
do you have a fear for where technology is going for the music industry, where it seems like a lot of creativity is dying in a way or changing form? Or do you think that with technology, the music industry is going to kind of make it better? Because I feel like the way we're going with it, so much studio ties stuff that nowadays creativity, it's not going to be as well as it used to be. You know, I heard Andre 3000 song. I don't know if you know who Andre 3000 is, from Outkast.
Yeah, I know.
He's got a song called Hey Ya. Well, if you look at that song and realize what they're saying in it, like there's a dude that did a cover of it. They actually played it on a podcast by Joe Rogan, and listening to it and then actually listening to the song, the dude did an acoustic version of it and it really lights up emotion into your mind. Like he talked about like, you know, a girl that was like loyal to him and like all these types of things that make your mind totally just when you hear it now, when you hear it, you can't unhear it. You know what I mean? It's something where you listen to it and you're just like, whoa, that's what he's really saying. Instead of hearing, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right, like that whole thing, like you're hearing the emotion from that acoustic version where it's like, whoa, it just changed the whole new vibe. And I tell people like, covers are sometimes better than the original. It just it's all about the artist. It's all about how much emotion and how much time and effort they put into it. You know, if they can truly make a better representation than the guy that actually produced it, sometimes it's well done. That's why a lot of famous bands are like, I don't look at covers. You know, the singer for Aerosmith's like, I don't look at covers of my songs as someone trashing me. I look at it as they thought they could do it better. And sometimes it is better. You know what I mean? It's all about what that person can do.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true. And actually, talking about this song, there is a channel in YouTube called Middleweight. I don't know if you know about it, but he's actually talking about this song. It is 1 month ago the video. Now I see it in my phone, and it's have 1 million views. And actually, he's actually saying what you're saying, because this song is actually, when you listen to it and just listen on the radio or just someone played it, and you don't get a lot of attention to it. It's like, yeah, really just listen to hey yeah, and nothing more than that, and you just don't go behind the story of the song. But if you really what I think is that in this current situation we have right now with the technology and music, if you really want to know more about the band or the artist or the song, you can just go in YouTube or go to this Genius or wherever you want, and just there's so many there's a lot of information you can know about it. And talking about the industry and the changing about the industry, there, to be honest, for example, the podcast industry didn't change a lot in since the beginning. I mean, the RSS feeds that it's currently the main builder of the podcast industry. It's still the same like it was when it was created, which is not a bad thing. But I think it will change, and I hope it will be for better. For example, this application called Anchor. I don't know how to
It's
really say it.
Anchor, yeah.
Yeah, Anchor. They're trying to change that, for example, but I don't know if it's good or not. I mean, people will decide, of course. But I think it's good when there is a change and when there are new things, because it's pushing the limits. Is what I'm thinking, and uh, I hope it will be in the end of the day it will be for a better.
I really do hope that music hits a point where we start to realize like it's all about the art. It's not about the money. It's not about the fame. I mean, I think it's benefit for a lot of artists out there that are trying to make just money and stuff that they can do this. But you got to look at music as a whole in a way. It's a way we've used throughout history for all of us to come together. And I mean, even my perspective on it from being in America and your perspective on it coming from Bulgaria, we hit around the same bases. We agree on the same thing that music's meant for a listener, that if you want it to be emotional, you want it to relate to it, you want to be able to escape to this place where you don't feel like you're dealing with all the problems of everyday life. And I just want to say, man, I appreciate you coming out and doing the podcast, man. It's been awesome talking to you about music and these types of things. I want to give you here a minute at the end to be able to plug your content where people can find you at, man.
Yeah, thank you very much again for inviting me. My podcast is called Music is Power Podcast, so you can just search it on online. You can probably find it. And my Instagram account, it's the most active one. It's Music is Power Podcast as well. So yeah, thank you very much for inviting me, and it was a really nice pleasure to talk with you.
And for anybody out there listening, all you have to know that is music is power.